What is something you've changed your mind about as you've researched sex?
What's your dream podcast collaboration?
Have we ever recorded a podcast episode while annoyed or irritated at each other?
Have we?
Would you ever consider having an open relationship? / do you want to consider it right now? Because I'm asking you. Hello and welcome to the Pillow Talks podcast. We're your hosts, Vanessa
And Xander Marin.
I'm a sex therapist with over 20 years of experience.
And I'm just a regular dude. We share the ups and downs in our relationship while giving you step-by-step techniques for improving yours.
Make sure you subscribe for your weekly double date full of totally doable sex tips, practical relationship advice, hilarious and honest stories of what really goes on behind closed bedroom doors, and so much more. It's the sex education you wish you'd had. It is our 200th episode today.
I find that hard to believe.
What, too low or too high?
I mean, it just doesn't feel
or you
like
think
it's...
we lied?
Yeah.
We just did even-numbered episodes.
I think we're lying. I think it's a conspiracy that all the 199 episodes up till now was actually us, because I don't remember them all. I mean, it feels like it can't possibly have been 200 that we've been doing this.
200 episodes.
It's wild.
That's 4 years, right? 52 weeks a year?
52 weeks a year. Yeah.
That's, oh my God. It hasn't been 4 years.
And we haven't taken any breaks.
I know. I'm too stubborn
We got an episode a week. Oh, yeah. No one asked that question and asked us anything.
Why have you never taken a break? Because Vanessa's too stubborn, too. Yeah,
we've had differing opinions on whether breaks are acceptable. We've gone with no breaks.
I mean, this has been a really wild journey. 200 episodes. We've talked about so much stuff. We've done so many different kinds of episodes. We've gotten ultra personal. We've given advice. We've shared community stories. We've laughed. We've cried. We've done a lot on this podcast.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited to continue. Get to the next 100, the next 200.
Me too.
How many years can we keep it going?
We'll see. Maybe. I mean, we were just talking about, there was one question. I'm not sure. Now I can't remember if we were answering it. But, I mean, we were talking about being quite old still doing this. So, maybe we'll be doing, episode 1,000.
1,000? Oh, my God. Be crazy.
Well, wait, hold on. What would that be? If this was 200 is approximately 4 years.
20 years would be
then
1,000.
20 years.
I mean, I guess we wouldn't be that old.
Yeah.
That's only another 15 years.
Let's fucking go.
Fun one would be like 55, 56.
Yeah. 1 week at a time, baby. Let's go.
All right. So we decided for this episode to do a Ask Us Anything episode. These have always been one of our most popular themes. And we told you guys, get nosy. Ask us some questions that you really want to know the answers to. Challenge us
blush.
make us blush. Challenge us to answer some questions that you don't think we would answer. And we got questions all over the place. I will say, though, I specifically said, I was like, don't ask us, don't do the boring stuff. What's your favorite color? Where are you from? And there were a lot of those.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about our favorite color or where we're from. Well, but we will. We did get a lot of really interesting ones. We couldn't even really pick because there were so many, but I think we picked some good ones. We're going to be all over the place. So to celebrate this big milestone, we put together a couple of really fun and totally free things for you. Just some fun ways to celebrate. So first up is we have a brand new and totally free intimacy quiz. So one of the things we know so many couples, us included, struggle with is this feeling of wanting to improve the intimacy in your relationship, but really not knowing where to start. And something that we love doing just as business owners, as a couple ourselves, is we love creating lots of different tools and resources and techniques and ideas. But of course, that can get a little overwhelming sometimes. I don't know where to start in my unique relationship. So we put together this quiz to help you identify a starting point and a journey to go through that's really going to be best for your relationship.
Yeah, because the reality is, when you think of okay, let's work on our relationship, there's a lot of places that you could start. All you need to do is look at our Instagram page or look at our podcast titles and see like, oh my God, there's like literally hundreds of possible things that I could do. We could work on sexual technique. We could work on better initiation. We could work on better communication. We could work on, exploring new things in the bedroom. There's such an open-ended to working on your relationship. And it's so easy to just be like, God, it's going to take, like, looking at all the options, it's going to take so long. It seems like so much work. I don't want to have to do all of that. It's like a lot of trial and error. But what we have really come to discover is that we truly believe that there are 5 keys to lasting intimacy in your relationship. And the key is figuring out which of these 5 keys is the right starting place. So yeah, this quiz helps you identify which of these areas is going to kind of give you the most bang for your buck. What's going to be the best starting point that's going to move you furthest, quickest.
So if you want to take the quiz, it's super quick, just a few questions, but it's really going to give you some great insight into your relationship. You can go straight to vmtherapy.com/5keys. That's vmtherapy.com/5keys. We'll also put that link in the show notes to check it out. But we're super excited about this quiz. We think it's going to be really fun and really helpful for every couple. So check that out at vmtherapy.com/5keys.
All right, and the next thing that we're doing for you is we're bringing a little March Madness into your life. Now, if you're not a basketball fan, that is totally fine because we're doing a different kind of March Madness. I'll be honest with you, I'm not really into college basketball either. I just know that March Madness...
Oh, is it just college basketball?
Yeah, March Madness is literally a college basketball tournament, a men's tournament and a women's tournament.
Oh, I thought it was just like any basketball.
Well, you got like high school, college, and pros like playing each other?
No, not playing each other, but like I thought like the NBA has March Madness.
No, the NBA just has the regular season in March.
Well, that's boring.
Yeah, March Madness is just college basketball.
Okay.
Yeah,
whatever.
It's a tournament, but we're doing a different kind of tournament. We're putting 8 bedroom positions, 8 sex positions head to head in the ultimate March Madness sex position showdown.
Woo!
So
that's the kind of March Madness.
Yeah, this is the kind of March Madness, the sexy March Madness that we can get behind. So here's how it works. Like, you get to vote on each bracket, and we're going to tally everything up. And at the end, one sex position will reign supreme and will become our next free guide. We will break down exactly how to do that position, how to get into it, how to get out of it, how to move in it, figure out exactly what it is good for and why you might want to do it. So here's how it's going to work. On Sundays and on Wednesdays in March, we're going to be posting a reel with 2 positions that are going to go head to head. Then you are going to vote on which position you like better. Then on Fridays, we will announce the winning position. All right, so if you want to play along, make sure that you are following us on social at Vanessa and Xander.
So yeah, we hope you have fun with both of these things. And also stick around until the very end of the episode because we have another little insider secret to share with you. We went all out on this episode.
We're a big tease today.
3 different things that were given to you, creating for you. Yeah, we just had to go for it. When was the last time you needed to go to a doctor, but you pushed it off? Made the excuse, I'm too busy. It'll heal on its own. I don't need the help. Or I don't know what doctor to go to. I think we've all been there. Sometimes booking a doctor's appointment can just feel so daunting, but thanks to Zocdoc, there is no reason to delay. They make it so easy to find and book a doctor who is right for you. Zocdoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare high-quality in-network doctors and click instantly to book an appointment. They just make it so simple. The next time Xander or I are in need of any sort of medical care, we are definitely going to turn to Zocdoc. They have more than 100,000 doctors, every specialty you can imagine, mental health, dental health, primary care, urgent care, and incredibly easy filters. You can look for people who take your insurance, are located nearby, and are highly rated by verified patients. And making the appointment is super easy. It's all online, no having to call in, awkwardly talk to a receptionist, and you can score super fast appointments, like 24 to 72 hours. Go to Zocdoc.com/pillow to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/pillow. Zocdoc.com/pillow. Okay, so let's get into these questions.
Oh, let's go.
Xander, I think you have to ask me the first one.
All right, Vanessa, how would you feel if Xander decided to shave his beard? Does he let you have a say? I just have to laugh at this one. Do I let her have a say? Okay,
so here's the story behind Xander's beard.
Hold on. The real question should be, does Vanessa let Xander have a say?
Okay, Xander started growing out his beard on our honeymoon. And I had never, for the we were together 3.5 years before getting married, 4 years. I had never seen you with a beard or even facial hair. You were always very clean shaven.
Yep.
And so you started growing out facial hair when we were on our honeymoon. And I was like, excuse me? Who is this man? Because
who's this hairy man?
He is significantly hotter than the man that I married. I was really into it. I just think you look so good with facial hair. And I was like, please don't ever shave that again. And so we got home from our honeymoon. And I think you only did it because we went on like a 3-week honeymoon. And you're like, well, I just don't really want to shave. And I've never been on a trip this long before. I'm just going to let it go.
Yeah, let's see how long it gets.
So we came back. You immediately shaved it to go back to work. And I was devastated. I was like, where did it go?
I didn't tell her.
I need it back.
I got in the shower and I just did it.
I almost cried when you came out.
I think I was a little nervous to show up at Google. And
that's so weird.
I had just here's what's going through my head. I had just started that job. They really did me a solid in terms of everything, because I basically got a job offer from them. My start date was going to be 3 weeks before our wedding, and so I kind of had to be like, I'd love to take this job, but I need you to know that I'm getting married and I have a 3-week, I have a 2.5 week honeymoon plan plus wedding. I'm going to need to take 3 weeks off, even though I haven't earned any vacation or anything yet. And I was like, I could start on the day you want me to. I could start after the wedding. They decided they wanted me to start and then take 3 weeks off. So I did that. So I was like, these people don't know me very well. I've just been working there for 3 weeks and I'm going to show up looking totally different. I was like, I don't feel comfortable with that.
Yeah.
So I shaved it all off. But then I was like, oh God, that was a horrible mistake.
Yeah. So he's had a beard and mustache of varying lengths. You really grew it out for a while. I mean, it was pretty long.
Oh, yeah.
For a while. Very bushy. Now it's pretty short. But yeah, you've had this for 13, 14 years now, and I'm really attached to it, and I really don't want you to shave. And you've been fine with that, except recently, just in the last few months, you've got it in your head that it makes you look older, and you think that now because you're almost 40, maybe you want to look a little younger, which is crazy because men just look so much hotter as they age. It's really unfair. So you've been thinking about it a little bit, and I just really don't want you to. I mean, at the end of the day, it's your body. I can't tell you what to do with your body, but I really don't want you to shave.
It's really 50-50. First of all, the part of me, what you're describing as Xander wanting to shave, it's not that I want to. There's a slight bit of curiosity where I'm like, I am kind of curious what I would look like now without a beard. I know what I look like.
AI thing. Can somebody just
someone
Photoshop?
AI me.
Take a picture. Somebody who's good at Photoshop. Take a picture of Xander
I don't
and
think
just
it's a Photoshop thing. That's an AI thing.
Take out whatever. Just take out his beard and DM it to us at Vanessa and Xander so he can see, and then he won't shave and I won't have to have my heart broken.
Yeah, I would actually. That would be great if someone can do that. That would be super cool. I would love to see what you think I look like without a beard, because that would help me out. I am really curious because like when I look back at those old pictures of me, I don't love the way that I look. However, I was also really out of shape and not eating very healthy, and like a lot of other challenges in my life that were contributing to me maybe looking the way that I was looking. And I just am curious, but I have a feeling that even if I did shave, that I would be like, I want to go back to the beard. However, that's just like
too many howevers.
That's just a small part of me. I'm curious though, which version of my beard do you like the best?
I like it longer, honestly, when it gets like a little bit bushy. I mean,
Longer than what I have right now.
I think it looks good.
I trimmed it yesterday.
Yeah, I think it looks good trimmed, but I don't know. It kind of does it for me when you've got like a big, thick beard.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I feel so dirty like that.
No, not like you. It got a little bit too long at a certain point. Where I was like,
I also
okay.
had really long, but my hair, like everything was unkempt, and that. Ugh.
Yeah, but I like it a little bit longer. Okay. What is something you've changed your mind about as you've researched sex? I just want to say, first of all, that I think changing your mind about stuff is a really good thing. I think people get really freaked out about this. But like, I think the perspective I always take is if I'm looking back at the work that we did 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and I'm not cringing, then I'm not growing enough. Like, I want us to be changing our minds, learning new things, growing and changing.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, I think like this idea that somehow like you're supposed to pick a lane and stay in it at all costs. Like, okay, so like the reality is we learn and we grow and our perspective changes. So it's like, okay, well, I could just like block all of that out and be like, nope, this is what I said 10 years ago and this is what I'm sticking with. But like, I mean, honestly, think back to who you were 10 years ago and the things that you were thinking or saying or doing. And like, would you really truly be happy if that was like exactly who you were right now? I'm guessing the answer is probably no. So I know for me, it's certainly no. That is not who I am now. That's not who I want to be. I feel like I feel smarter. I feel healthier. I feel all these. I'm much happier with who I am now than who I was 10 years ago. So like, why would I want to be thinking the same way?
So what's something that you've changed your mind on when it comes to sex?
Let's see here. Well, okay, definitely scheduling sex, or like we like to say, scheduling intimacy, planning for intimacy, perhaps. Because, yeah, I mean, I thought much like most people think when it comes to scheduling sex, like it's the butt of a lot of jokes in TV shows and movies. It's basically something that we see. It's a sign that a couple has gotten older and life has gotten more stale. Oh my God, they have to put the sticker on the calendar so they know that they're going to have sex. And like, you know, when you're young and hot, everything's like spontaneous and whatever. And that's how it's supposed to be. Mm-hmm. So I've changed my mind on it from a couple of perspectives. I mean, first of all, I've changed my mind on it just because it is something, you know, once we got into a more, I don't know, mature relationship and sort of had that experience of it feeling like life kind of catching up to us, like scheduling sex was helpful for us. And I've seen how helpful scheduling sex or planning for intimacy or whatever you want to call it. We have a specific way that we recommend people do it that doesn't feel like, oh my God, I've scheduled it. But I've seen how helpful that has been for us and for other people. But I think the thing that really has changed my mind is starting to understand that the reality with scheduling sex is that actually that hot, spontaneous sex that I'm putting in quotes right now, that was actually hot and fun and exciting. Not because it was spontaneous, but because it was planned. And I think that we are deluding ourselves when we think, oh yeah, no, everything was spontaneous back at the beginning. Because no, the reality is at the beginning of a relationship, you are literally carving out time in your day. You're planning in advance when you're going to meet up with someone, when you're going to go out on a date with them. And the moment you become sexually active, there is a pretty strong understanding or assumption that when you go on a date, you have sex. And so the reality is that we have been, what we think is spontaneity is actually anticipation building and building and building. You are excited about seeing this person. You are excited about wanting to have sex later. You are thinking about what you're going to do later. You're doing things to prepare, and you're building up this energy and excitement for your date and for the sex that you are going to have.
Yep. The problem is not that you have to schedule sex. It's that you stopped scheduling it in the first place.
Yep.
Okay. I don't think I've even said this to you out loud, but I am in the middle of possibly changing my mind about one of the most frequently given answers that I ever give.
Interesting. Do I know about this?
No, you don't.
Oh.
But I've been mulling it over in my head for a little while.
Okay.
How much sex should we be having? Our answer has always been like, there is no magic number. There's no right amount that's going to work for every single couple. And I still totally agree with that. Like, I think as human beings, our relationships are so varied. They're so different that I still believe there is not one magic number.
I mean, there's not one magic answer on nearly anything.
Yeah,
for
anything
every
in
couple.
life,
There's
yeah.
always going to be some exception.
That being said, I'm kind of mulling over whether it's helpful to give some sort of guidelines around it. Like the comparison I'm thinking about is exercise. Like there's no specific amount of exercise per week that every single person in the entire world could do and be healthy. Like health comes in all shapes and sizes. Health is affected by so many different things. Like we can't just pin it on that.
But exercise is generally good, right?
Yeah,
like the advice is you should exercise.
We should move our bodies in ways that feel joyful and good to us. Yes. And with exercise, like we do get specific guidelines. Like, and nobody's saying like, yeah, well, you could exercise once a year and that'll be totally fine, right?
Yeah.
Like we have general ideas of how often we should be exercising, or at least like that it's something we should be doing regularly. And I kind of have been wondering, like, is that something that could be beneficial when it comes to sex? Because I do worry that people hear the like, there is no magic number, and they take it as this sign of, okay, well, then I don't have to like try to have it.
Or things can just remain the way that they are.
Yeah. And I do very firmly believe that sex is an important part of pretty much like of most relationships, not every relationship, because there is asexuality. There are people who choose not to, have sexual relationships, but the vast majority of relationships, I think sex is an important part. And I think sex takes an active effort. I think we get ourselves into so much trouble when we just sit around waiting to feel that spontaneous desire out of nowhere. I want couples to get in the mindset of sex is something that we work at. We put energy, effort, time into connecting with each other. So I kind of wonder from that perspective if giving, again, not saying you have to have sex X number of times per week, but maybe giving a little bit more of a guideline could be helpful. I don't know. I'm curious to know what you guys think as you're listening to this.
Is there kind of like a cheekiness to it? Kind of like like if you have to ask how expensive something is, it's probably too expensive. Is it the same kind of thing with this where it's like, if you're asking how much sex I should be having the answer is probably
more than what you're having. Yeah, for sure. I would definitely agree with that.
Of course, there are some notable exceptions. We do hear from people who are like, oh, like we have sex twice a day. Like, should we be having more?
Yeah.
And
like,
I can almost definitively say if you are having sex 2 times a day, every day.
I mean, if you want to have more,
if it feels exciting for both of you to have more and your body is capable of that, man, more power to you. Cheers to you, I say.
So we've been on a fun beverage kick lately, and Xander has been making a great little concoction of some matcha green tea plus a Cure citrus pack to make like a little matcha lemonade. Cure is a plant-based hydrating electrolyte drink mix with no added sugar. It's a natural, delicious, and convenient way to keep you and your whole family hydrated without all the artificial stuff. So if you're somebody who struggles to drink enough water, you definitely want to check out Cure. They have some incredible flavors: berry pomegranate, strawberry kiwi, watermelon, tropical punch, blood orange. They just add a little bit of flavor to make your water taste better. It's the perfect way to start your day, give you a little boost from all those electrolytes, and just super simple to stash in your bag and throw into a water bottle at any point. The reality is most of us are dehydrated. Actually, 75% of Americans don't drink enough water, which is leading to all sorts of symptoms like fatigue, headaches, brain fog, and dry skin.
I know that once I started having electrolytes every day, I stopped getting I would get kind of headachy by the end of the day. And all of a sudden it was like, boom, that was just gone.
Now, for Pillow Talks listeners, Cure is offering 20% off your first order. Stay hydrated and feel your best by visiting curehydration.com/pillow and using promo code PILLOW at checkout. That's curehydration.com/pillow and use code PILLOW for 20% off your first order. Okay, here's the next one. Why do you hide being Jewish but not Latin? And I had to do this one because this person...
This is what we asked for, right?
Yeah, this person has asked this question like many times on Sundays. Whenever we do Ask Us Anything, it has popped up. I've seen it before many times. And I can't like read through all of the questions every week, so I'm sure they've even sent it through more times than I realize.
I have a question for this person, though. How do we hide being Jewish if you know that we're Jewish? How did you learn that? Because we must have told you. Yeah. So how are we hiding it?
This question gets at such a like interesting dynamics that come up when people have like any semblance of a personal brand. But if you've never heard us talk about our backgrounds before, we are both half Jewish. Both of our dads are Jewish, which technically traditionally,
we're not Jewish.
Yeah, Judaism only gets passed down through the mother's side.
So our mothers would have had to convert to Judaism before having us in order for us, technically speaking, by most Jewish measures, for us to be Jewish. So for us to truly be Jewish, we would have to convert. Though there's plenty of synagogues that would we could have had a bar mitzvah or a bat mitzvah. It's kind of confusing by there's different perspectives on that, but the technical perspective is we are technically not Jewish.
And I am half Mexican. My mom is full Mexican. Xander is a quarter Nicaraguan. His mom is half Nicaraguan. Doing the math right there. So for both of us, Judaism is part of our family history, but we don't practice it in any way. I've never been to temple for services. My family growing up, we very casually would celebrate the major holiday, we'd light the candles for Hanukkah, but
Hanukkah and Passover probably are the two.
No, we never, it was just Hanukkah.
Oh, just Hanukkah?
Just lighting the candles for Hanukkah. So I think there's a lot of stuff about Jewish culture and faith that I appreciate, but I've never really considered myself, personally, I don't consider myself Jewish because it's not something that I engage with. I don't engage with the religion in any way.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same for me. I think there was a year or something where my dad sent me to Hebrew school, and I learned this is very counter, one day a week, not I went to a Hebrew school of 5 days a week. But no, I went to Sunday school basically. And I think that I got to a point where I could read Hebrew. I couldn't understand what I was reading. It would be as if you taught somebody how to read English, but you didn't teach them what any of the words meant. So it'd be they could read something. It's kind of useless. Okay. So I could read, I could read a prayer or something, or read a line from the Old Testament or something, but I couldn't tell you what it meant. And then I stopped going to that. And we would celebrate Hanukkah and we would celebrate Passover, but not in a particularly religious way. So I've always considered myself sort of Jewish by proxy or culturally Jewish. but I don't consider myself religious. I definitely consider myself spiritual.
Yeah, same.
But my spiritual connection doesn't have anything to do with Judaism. So yeah, I don't talk very much about being Jewish because I don't feel Jewish in a religious sense.
The only thing that I can think of that maybe has caused this person to keep asking this question is that when there was the hostage situation in Israel, we were getting a bunch of DMs from people like demanding that we speak about the situation. And this was also when there was this huge wave of anti-Semitism that was happening like in this country. And I put up a post that said something about like, look, like pressuring people to speak up in the exact right way that you want them to speak up just isn't an effective tool. Like you don't really know anything about the activism that we do outside of Instagram. And like, we don't do Instagram activism. That's been a conscious decision for us. Like there are a lot of causes that we really care about, but spreading awareness on Instagram, like there are plenty of accounts that are about awareness and education and news and politics and activism. And I totally support that. And I've learned a lot myself from those kinds of accounts, but that's not the kind of account that we have. Like our business is about sex, relationships, intimacy. And so for us, it's really become like a mental health issue, like trying to, you just can't understand it unless you have a large Instagram account yourself. But whenever you post anything remotely political or like about a certain cause, you just get flooded with messages, some in support, most not. And like they can be incredibly nasty. Like people have threatened our lives before, people have threatened our business before. It's just, yeah, having to sit with that much intensity and hatred and anger, like it's really challenging. And I don't think that us posting about politics every once in a blue moon is really going to affect any change. What we prefer to do with our energy is we find, you know, the causes that we care about, we find organizations, we make incredible financial donations. We donate like a significant percentage of our proceeds, like profits from our business to charities every month. We get involved with activism in other ways that for us are more meaningful and that feel like this is a way that we can really make a difference rather than it's just a personal choice. Like being an activist on Instagram for me is just something that I don't choose myself. So anyways, a very long-winded way of saying I posted something that was like, look, we're not, we don't post about activism stuff. We don't post about like world events, politics stuff on our account. And also though, like, because it was somebody who knew that we were Jewish and they were like, why aren't you speaking out? And I said, I think I wrote something about like, if you know, if you've been here for a while, like you may have a feeling about why we might not be wanting to say something. Because at that time we were feeling scared. Like I had never seen anti-Semitism growing up. Like growing up being half Jewish, it was kind of cool. Like I maybe this sounds crazy to so many other people who have experienced it. I'm not saying like anti-Semitism didn't exist. I'm just saying my personal experience was that I had never experienced it. And then all of a sudden I am feeling it and I am feeling this fear for the first time in my life. And I was like, okay, I previously didn't really want to speak up about what was going on. Also, I fucking know nothing about the history of Gaza, the history of Israel. Like, I am not educated on that. I am not the person you want to be learning about this stuff from.
No.
Like, I think any sort of violence against any sort of person is horrible. I don't want there to be any violence in the world. But like, I'm not the person you want to be learning from about this. And also, I'm fucking scared for the first time in my life. This is really not the time that I want to be speaking out about something that.
Yeah, let's dip our toes into the world of political activism on Instagram. No thanks.
Yeah. So that's the only thing that I can think of that maybe that person thought that we were trying to like hide being Jewish. I was never trying to hide it. It's just, it's not a huge part of like what our day-to-day life experience is. We don't engage with it in any sort of way. But again,
it's not a part of our business or our philosophy on sex and relationships. So yeah, it doesn't have much of a place on our account.
Yeah. I'm proud of that heritage. I'm proud of like my family's history, just as I assume everybody's proud of their, their family's history and heritage. But yeah, it's not a hiding kind of thing.
All right, well, let's really shift gears.
This is kind of related, though.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, this is
question.
One that's going to get some comments.
Oh,
I know with
Lord.
certainty we are going to get some
We said we'd go
nasty
there.
commentary on this. We're going to go there.
Let's celebrate our 200 episodes by getting ourselves in trouble.
Yeah, Vanessa. So what do you think about circumcision? And if you're hearing that, like, what the, like how, like, what, where is the hate on this topic? I mean, maybe talk about like where this all comes from.
Yeah, I mean, I refuse to talk about circumcision on Instagram. It's like actually a boundary for me because I know that there's going to be so much intensity that gets directed our way if we do talk about it there. But I trust you, our podcast, Pillow Talks podcast listener, to be a little more nuanced. Instagram, social media, it's not really the place for nuance, but in the podcast, like we can have longer, more nuanced, thoughtful discussions. So I'm against circumcision. If we had children, if we had a child who was born a boy, I would not circumcise our child. I think that circumcision is genital mutilation. And unfortunately, it has been really normalized as part of all our culture in the U.S. In a lot of other countries. Some places in the world it is, some places in the world it isn't. But we're going more towards less circumcision worldwide and less circumcision in the U.S. too. But it really has become normalized. The reality is, though, that there isn't any good reason to remove a portion of a baby's genitals. Like people will cite, there's some studies saying that it prevents UTIs and that it can, penis can be a little bit cleaner, but like those are not strong enough reasons to do that. Like, yes, everybody needs to learn proper hygiene, and yeah, having an extra little flap, and I don't even want to say extra because like having the flap of skin that you were born with, having that flap of skin that you were born with, there's a tiny bit extra little cleaning that has to go into it of like retracting the foreskin, cleaning there. So sure, there's some education that has to go into it, but we all have to educate our kids about how to properly take care of our bodies. And it's not like it takes anything extra. Also, like extra risks of UTIs, like for the vast majority of people, like a UTI, it's not a pleasant experience, but for the vast majority of people, like it's not a horrible experience. And again, like that can really just be rectified with proper hygiene. Mm-hmm. There's not any true medically necessary reason to do this. The main thing that comes up these days for people is feeling like, well, we hear from a lot of people like, well, the father is circumcised and won't it feel weird for the child that like their body doesn't look the same as their partner's body does. But again, like to me, it's like your body was born that way for a reason. Why do we need to change any part of this body? Why do we need to like surgically remove a part of the body? And by the way, this is also a part of the body that is capable of so much sensation. Like the foreskin,
or protecting another area so that it can feel more sensation.
Yeah, the foreskin itself has a lot of sensation, and yeah, it like affects the sensation of the head of the penis too. Like you're taking away a lot of sensation from the penis.
Yeah, you're desensitizing the head of the penis because now it is always exposed.
Yeah, it's so challenging, and I want to be really clear. Like, I don't want to make anybody feel guilty or bad for having chosen this for their child. I don't judge people for that. Like, ultimately, it's your family. You make your own decisions. So I want to be super, super clear about that. And I do think, like, because it's become so culturally normalized, a lot of people don't even think about it. They just think, like, oh, yeah, you're supposed to do that. I'm doing what's best for my child. I think, like, the vast majority of people, I would say everybody who's gotten their child circumcised has done it because they thought that was the best thing for their child, which I totally can appreciate that. And at the same time, I think it's a practice that I just don't support, and that I want there to be more education about, and people to be able to make different decisions. And it's really tough to see, we see so much about women, young girls in Africa, getting genital mutilation there. There's all these, organizations that are trying to stop that. We absolutely should be, but it's interesting that we don't recognize like we're doing the same thing here at home.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think
in a less barbaric way, and it's less about like let me be clear. Like, there's a lot more about like control and power and, you know, shaming women and girls. And, you know, it's a different vibe, a totally different vibe around it. But the reality is we're still doing the same basic physical thing. We're removing genitals, portions of the genitals, which don't need to be removed.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that, the challenge in talking about that is that, you know, when somebody hears you say that, it can feel like an attack on them personally, because it's either, you know, like, you know, for me, for example, I'm a man who has been circumcised. And so I think like it can be easy to hear that and be like, oh, well, like you're judging me or you're judging the choice I made for my child. And it's not about judging that. It's not like you are bad because you've been circumcised or you're bad because you circumcised your child. Like, I feel like I can hold both things. Yeah, I am circumcised. My dad was circumcised. Like, I think it was basically done because it was just like, oh, that's just what we did in my family. And yeah, and I can be happy with my genitals, with my penis, with the experience I have sexually. And I can also say, yeah, maybe it would have been nice to have a little more sensation, to be able to feel a little more, to be able to, you know, just have the penis be as, you know, nature or God or whomever intended it to be.
Just to have your little turtleneck.
Yeah. Sometimes you get cold without turtleneck. I just want to be Steve Jobs. You took my Steve Jobs away.
Okay, I'm glad we can laugh about it because I'm like sitting over here getting hot and feeling nervous about people feeling like we're judging them. And I just want to be super clear again, like I'm not judging anybody. I don't look down on anybody for having made this decision. I just want like going forward, I want there to be more education and more awareness about this, that it isn't something that's medically necessary.
Yeah. So your advice would be, if you are considering circumcision, to perhaps consider not doing it.
Yeah.
I used to dream about us in the locker room, behind the bleachers, in the library. There were times when I felt almost tortured just being around you.
Do you still?
It's very, very difficult for me to not touch you.
That was a little clip from a little something called Hometown. That was from Dipsy, the female-founded app for spicy audiobooks and more, created by women for the female gaze. So if you listen to that clip and were like, excuse me, that's a little bit exciting, I want to hear a little bit more.
Yeah, where else did you think about me?
You definitely need to check out Dipsy. They have over 1,000 spicy audiobooks, all crafted by a team of professional writers and top-tier narrators. So whether you're looking for a rugged cowboy or a Scottish sailor, maybe a sexy rendition of Pride and Prejudice, you're going to find characters you love on Dipsy. I highly recommend that people check out Dipsy, because you never know how much this might get you going. If you've been feeling a little bit of a slump, feeling like it's hard to get turned on, I think a couple Dipsy stories might get you in the mood. It's seriously one of my favorite recommendations as a sex therapist. And Dipsy has an incredible offer for us. Right now, listeners of Pillow Talks can get an extended 30-day free trial. So there's literally nothing to lose. Give it a try and see if you like it. Just go to dipsystories.com/pillow to start your free trial. That's DIPSEA stories.com/pillow for 30 days of full access for free. Visit dipsystories.com/pillow. Woo, okay, let's move on. Xander, who do you think would cope better if the other dies first? Actually, I want us both to answer this at the same time.
Okay.
Let's go 3, 2, 1, answer.
Okay.
Okay. and then say the name of the person who would cope best.
Okay.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Vanessa. Sure.
I would be tore up.
I would be tore up too, but I think I'd cope better.
I would have lost my best friend.
I love you. I would miss you so much.
My life partner. I don't know how to do life without you.
I would really prefer
in a non-codependent way, because you left on a girls' trip a couple weeks ago for like 5 days, and I actually did great without you.
You did. Very proud of you. You haven't done great.
I'm proud of me too, because the time before that you left, it had been a number of years since you had left me at all. Before that, I struggled, so I really took it upon myself to take good care of myself.
I think I make your life very exciting.
You say that. You always say that. You always say it with the same tone. And pause. I think I make your life very exciting. That's like your mom kind of thing. I make it spicy.
Your life is a lot spicier with me in it than it would be without.
Yeah.
It's that half Mexican.
Yeah.
It's that hidden Jew.
Little half Latina hidden Jew vibe.
Okay. Would you ever consider having an open relationship? / do you want to consider it right now? Because I'm asking you.
Oh, okay. Like probably not.
Oh, okay.
Probably not. I mean, I feel like knowing everything that I know now, I feel like I could be better set up to do this. Mm-hmm. I feel like I could be far less jealous than I would have been in the past. I feel like, in a way where that could perhaps be like an emotion that I could learn to get more comfortable with. That being said, the work that I know would be required in order to successfully be in an open relationship, that feels like a lot to me. I don't feel like there's time or space in my life for that. I'm really happy with the way that my life looks now. And I think a lot of people have this glass half full idea, or like overly romantic idea of what an open relationship looks like, where it's just like, oh yeah, I can just go out any night and hook up with someone.
And people who are in open relationships would tell you that's not.
Yeah, people in open relationships will be like, please do not do that.
Think of it as that. Yeah, don't
please
think of it
don't
that way.
do that.
It's an insult.
It's an
us.
insult to me, and all the like hard work and like ethics that we have around this. I think anyone who is in a successful open relationship would tell you it's a shit ton of work. It's something you really have to be devoted to, like ideologically devoted to.
Mm-hmm. It's a lot of communication. It's a lot of working on boundaries. It's a lot of dealing with emotions, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand what what you could stand to gain in an open relationship. I mean, I think it's kind of like, I don't want to offend anybody by making this comparison, but it's, okay, I think back to before we had a dog at all. We were really happy. We had a lot of love for each other. Then we got Winston, our first dog. And it was like, oh my God, there's so much more love in my life. I was already so in love with you. I didn't know I was capable of experiencing more love. And now there's this other dog, and, there's a third person in our relationship. His name is Winston.
Oh my God, this might be an offensive comparison.
And I love him so much. And he also presents challenges that we have to overcome. But like all in all, it's like a huge net positive in my life. And then we got Maggie. We got a second dog. And it was like, oh my God, I didn't even know I had the capacity to feel all this more love. And it's just like, it's cool. It's really cool to have that experience. It feels really good falling in love with another dog, getting to know another dog. And so I can only imagine how much more could be available, perhaps,
Yeah.
If it's another person with more
Yeah.
someone that you can actually talk to and, and they can talk back to you. Because I talk to my dogs all the time. They don't.
Also, you can have sex with them, which is not happening with dogs.
No, thanks for that clarification.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of respect for people who choose to be in open relationships, and I think it's a totally valid relationship model. I want people to like consciously decide what relationship model they want to explore or that feels right for them. For me personally, I'm not open to being open. Like I like devoting my time and energy to one person, and I like focusing on the connection that I have with just that one person. You. Like, of course, sometimes the idea of getting to have sex with somebody brand new sounds exciting, or the getting to have the experience of falling in love with somebody new and having like a totally different connection. Like, sure, that could sound interesting sometimes, but it honestly, even as I'm saying that, I'm like, not really. It doesn't feel that exciting to me, actually.
Yeah, I think like I don't know how it is for other people, but yeah, like the idea of having sex with somebody new, it's like I think intellectually it's like, oh, that could be exciting.
No, it's like I said it out loud, and then I was like,
it,
ugh, actually no. I'd rather focus on having the best sex that you and I can have.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking about this earlier today for some reason. I must have heard something that made me think of it. But yeah, I mean, like, if I'm being really honest with myself, I don't think I've ever had a like outside of a relationship, like sexual interaction with someone where I've like truly come away from it feeling like really good about myself. Mm-hmm. Like, I think that I am someone that I have learned I don't do well with casual sex. Mm-hmm. You know, for me, it's like that emotional connection part is so important, so key for me feeling like safe and comfortable doing it with somebody that so that's why it's still even in a relationship with someone at the very beginning, it's kind of stressful and a little bit anxiety provoking because it's like, I'm still getting to know this person. You know, I don't feel like I can be fully vulnerable with them yet. And sex is a very vulnerable thing. So yeah, it's like, I think that I've come to accept that, yeah, like for me, I'm glad that I got into a relationship early on with you and got married early on because I've never truly been happy single and like dating or hooking up or whatever. And I do know that for many people that is super fun. And they do enjoy that. And people do come away from one night stands feeling good. For me, if I'm being truly honest with myself, I've never had that experience. And so, yeah, one might say, well, maybe there's things that you could work on. Maybe that's some internalized shame or whatever. And sure, there's plenty of things that maybe I could work on. But I'm like, well, do I want to work on that and try to overcome this thing, or like focus my time and attention on the person I love that's right in front of me? And I'm choosing you.
Thanks, babe. I'm choosing you.
All right, Vanessa, are we still in couples therapy? How's it going? We're not going.
So we did a podcast episode called We're in Couples Therapy. I think it was called
we might have done two episodes.
Yeah. And then I think we did like Ask Us Anything about couples therapy. But we are not in couples therapy anymore. We did it for, a couple months.
Yeah, a couple months, I want to say.
And yeah, we were always clear with our therapist right from the beginning that we had a specific thing that we wanted to focus on, which was actually like, did we want to talk openly and publicly about Xander's struggle with addiction and his sobriety? And of course, like is the case pretty much anytime you start therapy, we did talk about other things as well.
Along the way, yes, we did. And then we ended up talking about some of those other things for longer than we talked about the first presenting issue because, we decided together fairly quickly that, yes, we did want to share about that. And we have shared about that. And we do talk about that from time to time. But again, kind of similar to the like Judaism thing. And it's like, you know, culturally we're Jewish. I'm sober. I have struggled with addiction. then again, we are not an account that focuses on that. Like we don't talk about that in very much detail. It's an important part of my life. It's an important part of my spirituality. But, you know, we're in the business of talking about sex, and that's what we do on our podcast and on Instagram. So that's why you don't see us talking about that a lot.
So yeah, we had a really great experience overall. Like we really connected with our therapist. We got some great insight from him, some great tools. We were able to talk through like a number of different dynamics and just had a great experience. And then we talked to him about, you know, hey, we're feeling like we're getting ready to wrap up, which I highly recommend doing. People never do this. Like,
don't ghost your therapist.
Don't ghost your therapist. Like back when I was seeing people one-on-one, I would get ghosted a lot, and I kind of knew it was coming because you could feel things like starting to wrap up. But it's actually really great to practice goodbyes with your therapist. Like tell your therapist, hey, I'm feeling like I'm ready to stop or take a break. It's a really great experience to have. And like a good therapist wants you to leave. A good therapist does not want you to hang out with them for like years and years and years and years.
Yeah, and it's honestly, it's really validating to share that with your therapist and hear them say to you, I think you're ready. I think you're ready. I mean, I stopped individual therapy recently and had that experience with my therapist where I was like, you know, like I just want to talk about like what do you think the future looks like? That's because I'm realizing I'm coming into our sessions and struggling to think of things to talk about. And he was like, that makes perfect sense. Like given where you're at. So why don't we just move to an as needed basis? And it's, it feels good to hear, you know, the person that you trust recommending to you the same thing that you're thinking about.
So we are not currently in it, haven't been in it for a while, but it's really good to know that that's a resource that is always available to us. And I'm sure we will go back.
Yep. We got his number.
We know where he lives.
We don't know where he lives. We know where he works.
Maybe not anymore though. He moved offices like 5 times when we were working with him. Okay, Xander, have we ever recorded a podcast episode while annoyed or irritated at each other?
Have we? We most certainly have. I think that may have been easier for one of us than for the other.
Oh, who?
I feel like it's harder for me.
I can fake it a little bit more if I need to. Yeah. No, you're right.
Yeah, I've had some like traumatic experiences in a past relationship with like faking everything being okay.
I guess
it's harder. It's harder for me to not be reminded of that.
I don't think of it as faking. I think of it as like I can compartmentalize. I can put this aside for now, and I'm not going to fake that you and I are like so good and happy, but I can like be neutral with you. But you do have some trauma around the faking aspect of it. I will say though, I don't think we've ever started an episode annoyed or irritated, like majorly. We might have been like a little irritated with like, you're kind of annoying me a little bit. But like,
honestly, there might have been a couple where we were about to start and we were like, no. We were like, you know what? This is not a good idea.
Well, what we have done is if we're feeling a little annoyed or irritated, we do like an awkward dance party. And that
shake off.
That gets the vibes right. But we have had plenty of experiences where we've been in the middle of recording and have gotten like had a fight. We've only
annoyed.
had we've had annoyances. I think we got in a big fight like one time. We had to scrap the whole like record. We had to throw everything away.
Oh yeah, I remember that now.
I will say too, like it's really awkward because we know the annoyance and irritation will never make it into the episode, but we know that our editors will see and or hear it, and that can be really. We had an experience just like a couple of. Oh no, was it even the last one we recorded?
Maybe.
Yeah, Xander like went off on this tangent and said something and I was like, oh, I think maybe that's like, maybe let's not share that in the episode. And then you got really like felt put on the spot and didn't know how to like get back, how to like restart the episode. And you were just sitting there like really awkward, like just give me a minute. And I could tell it's like, you know, it's because the cameras are on and the mics are recording and we know that the editors on the other end are going to like see this awkwardness. And it just, it feels a little strange.
Yeah, it's really awkward when you are. So, I mean, what we are doing right now, we have 3 iPhones recording video,
Like,
one
I
on
don't
me,
wanna
one on
look.
Vanessa, one wide shot of us. You can see that all on YouTube, by the way,
can.
which you should go to YouTube and
Watch
check
me
and
hide
check
from the cameras
this out.
right now.
We also then have audio from 2 different mics recording on this laptop. And so what that means is there is no simple way to press pause without stopping everything and then like starting it back up, and then
God,
you
I
have
wish
to
there
and then you have
was.
to like explain to your editor, oh yeah, sorry, this
sorry,
is like
we're
this is
awkward.
in multiple pieces because we had to stop in the middle or whatever. Like there's no way. It's even awkward to be like, because like we're recording, this is all literally on tape or in the cloud, whatever. It's like committed to the camera or the audio. Like just the, hey, want to stop? Like,
Yeah.
you want to stop to talk about this? Like,
Yeah,
it's
you
like an
can't.
admission. We are about to have do we
Yeah.
want to have a fight
Yeah.
right now? Sorry, editor. We got to hit pause while we figure some shit out. So it's just it's an awkward situation.
Yeah.
Unless we were to edit everything ourselves, and neither of us have the skills for that.
But yeah, I mean, we're a real
humans.
couple. We're humans. We get annoyed and irritated at each other. I honestly can't remember what we thought about. It was something personal. Like you were sharing something personal about our relationship that maybe I feel like I didn't know that you felt that way, or I felt like maybe it was too personal at the time. I can't even fully remember. But
I think,
don't remind me.
I'm not. It was like you were saying something like, oh, like this is a thing. This is like a dynamic that can happen in relationships. And I was like, without really thinking it through entirely, I was like, oh, I've definitely been guilty of that in our relationship. Like, and then it was sort of like, as I said that, I was like, wait, like I wouldn't, that's not actually that fair to say, like, maybe there's been elements of this thing that I've, of this dynamic that I've fallen into, but it's not really accurate to say, oh yeah, that totally describes us. Mm-hmm. And I think that was, I can't remember what dynamic
I
it
will
was.
say like one thing one of the challenges of working with your partner is that like feedback can sometimes feel super personal. Like everything just feels so much more personal. And I think we can have like weird moments with each other sometimes where, how do I say this? I feel like I'm a little more, there are more times where I'm like, that thing you said, maybe we should cut it.
You're more likely to produce me than for me
you
to
don't
produce you.
me.
I do, but just not as much.
Yeah,
I'll
not
tell you,
nearly
hey,
as
why
much.
don't you restart that, or rephrase that?
Yeah.
Or like you stumbled over this word.
But it's so much more rare. Whereas I might be like, I think that's a little bit too much of a tangent to go on. And that's a dynamic that happens in our relationship outside of this room too. Like I tend to bring things up more than you do. And that can feel challenging for sure. Like sometimes I'm like, am I the only one paying attention to this, or do I care more about this? Sometimes I wonder, like, am I being a bitch? And Xander's just like the cool laid back guy who never gets bothered by anything. And then I'm like, well, it's unfair that I have to be the bitch and Xander gets to be the cool laid back guy. So it's just like, it's a complicated dynamic, both like in our relationship and in our business.
Yeah.
But
For sure. So the answer is we need in addition to all 3 cameras and audio, we also need a producer sitting in the corner that can stop me instead of you.
maybe one day we got to get this podcast a little bit bigger.
All right. Now I got one. This person, they really followed our instructions and they're trying to get the tea.
Okay.
So Vanessa, have you noticed Xander speaking more than you in the podcasts lately?
I have not noticed that, but I do think we've been on a journey with this podcast and with our business as a whole, where, we started off at the beginning of like, I'm the sex therapist and Xander's the regular dude. And you had a little bit of a complex around like, I don't have training like you do, and I don't have degrees and a license. Like I don't have as much to say.
I was on a journey.
Yeah. And even like at the beginning of this podcast, I think a lot of our episodes were more like I was really leading them and you were kind of sprinkling in the color commentary.
Yeah. It's like a NFL broadcast where you have like the play-by-play person and then the color commentary person. The color commentary person may talk longer at one time because they might tell a story or an anecdote, but the play-by-play person is doing most of the meat of the game.
Yeah. So, but now, like, I feel like you've really developed this confidence. You know that you have something of value to offer. Like, you know that people enjoy hearing your perspectives and like getting to learn more about you. So I would say you definitely are talking more than you have before. But I haven't noticed he's talking more than me. And we do often get, not often, but like we have gotten other messages before of people saying like, oh, Xander like talks over you all the time and he interrupts and blah, blah, blah. And some of them have been people like getting kind of upset for me about it. And it's super interesting because there are times that you talk over me, and those are some of the times that I get annoyed and irritated and think.
Oh, you have no problem calling it out when it happens.
Yeah. But there are also tons of times that I talk over you.
And very often I don't call. Yeah. I mean, this just gets back to the dynamic you talked about. I have a wider range of tolerance for things before they start to bug me. Yeah. And often I'm just whatever. It's like not in a like, let me repress this. Like I just have everybody has a different range before
mine tends to be on the
their nervous
side.
System kind of gets activated.
And so, yeah, we both interrupt each other a fair amount, like in business and in our relationship.
And in pleasure.
Not in pleasure, thank God. And it's funny, like we both have a bad habit around interrupting each other, and we both hate being interrupted. So it is something that causes conflict in our relationship. But I will say, like, it's challenging with the podcast because we're trying to like make it an exciting episode. We're trying to have an engaging conversation. And sometimes it's hard to like, it's just a lot easier to interrupt each other in a podcast than it is in normal day-to-day conversation.
Yeah, I think that there has to be some tolerance for jumping in because you're trying to create fun, like exciting moments and when sometimes like funny moments. And you can't really do that. If you're
politely waiting.
Oh, okay. Oh, did you wrap that up?
Yeah.
All right. Now let me come in with the joke.
Exactly.
Like it's not funny anymore. So, yes.
But I will say one other thing, and then we'll move on to the next question.
That was a big eye flutter. You just said, wow.
There is also a dynamic that's important to recognize around men interrupting women. Like,
oh, absolutely. And I have plenty of work to do on that front.
Yeah. Like historically, we're not talking about an even playing field where women have been given the same space and respect that men have. So we got to throw that in there as well.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it doesn't irritate me like a ton in the podcast. And I also am very aware that I'm very guilty. I just have interrupted you like 10 times answering this question.
I've interrupted you a couple times answering this question too, for the good of the banter and the podcast. Yes. But I would be curious to anyone that is curious about this. I'm sure that there are some kind of like AI tool that you could run a couple episodes through and literally tell us what are the percentages. I'd maybe cut out the intro and the outro because those aren't
Don't
indicative.
Do that.
I'd be curious to know. I bet it would be more like 60-40.
Oh.
You to me. But it may be 55-45. Could be 50-50. Who knows? And who cares, kind of.
Wow, we gotten heated on this episode.
Yeah, I know.
We're like going so much longer than we usually do.
All right, well,
let's wrap it up. A couple rapid fires.
All right. Vanessa, would you ever go back to offering private sex therapy?
So, little sneak answer here. We kind of do. We don't advertise it anywhere. So my original journey with this business is I started off doing one-on-one and I transitioned into creating guides and courses because I wanted to be more affordable, more accessible. I wanted to help more people. And so I have not taken a new client for like, there was probably a period of like 5-10 years that I wasn't taking on anybody new. But Xander and I have just started offering packages, coaching packages where we will work with couples. But I will just give you a heads up, it's very expensive. Like this is a 4-figure investment because we're really focused on keeping our stuff affordable and accessible to the majority of people. So we don't have the time to be working with people one-on-one. So we're just doing it on an extremely limited basis. And we're charging a very hefty fee because we need to if we're directing that much of our time and energy away from doing the more affordable and accessible stuff. So if you're interested in that, you can always email info@vmtherapy.com for all the details.
All right. Finally, what's your dream podcast collaboration?
Okay, I'm putting this out into the universe. Oprah. I want to meet Oprah. I want to be on Oprah's podcast. She's just down the road. I want to go over there. I had a dream that it was going to happen, and I woke up and I was like, it's going to happen. I'm going to be on Oprah's podcast.
Vanessa, welcome to my tea house.
I'm waiting for it. So if anybody out there, if you're Oprah's friend, her podcast producer.
Yeah. Let's get woo. We're manifesting it. We're calling it in.
We're manifesting.
We're putting it out there.
I'm going to put all my crystals out to manifest some Oprah. I just have so much respect for her. I really would love to meet her. It would just make my year.
Make my life.
2025, I'm declaring it this year. It's going to happen.
The year of Oprah. Let's do it.
All right. Well, we have to stop ourselves now. We could keep going.
Yeah, this is wild.
So fun, but we're going to stop now. But we have one final surprise for you. There's something really big, a huge project that we have quietly been working on for months. We are totally changing our business. Completely changing our business. What we have done until now and what we are going to be doing going forward very soon is just wildly different.
Yeah, because we want to be working more closely with people. And we want to be working more closely with people that want to be working on their relationship more regularly. So we're going to be changing some serious things up in our business model so that, it is going to be, you're still going to be able to buy some of our courses here and there, but there's going to be another way of working with us that is really going to be for people that are really ready to really ready to work on their relationship regularly, because that's what lights us up, and that's where we know that we can have the most impact.
Still affordable, still accessible.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's just a different way of looking at things.
But you got to get on our email list to find out the info. We're going to be sharing it very soon. So make sure to go over to vmtherapy.com/subscribe to get on our email list. We will also put that link in the show notes. So check that out. We've got so much stuff for you. We've got the intimacy quiz, which is at vmtherapy.com/5keys. We'll also have that link in the show notes. We have our March Madness bedroom bracket over at Vanessa and Xander on Instagram. And this big announcement, if you go to vmtherapy.com/subscribe.
All right. Well, at long last, because this is a long one, that is all for today's episode of Pillow Talks. There are no more surprises. There are no more pieces of information that you need to know. Just thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being with us for 200 episodes. It really means so much to us. So join us again next week for episode 201. We release new episodes every Thursday. Bye.